Right, hello my darlings, back now with the Great Ugly for my number 13 Great Ugly for my week 11 of my 100 Days Challenge. And she's starting to bow a bit. She's starting to bow a bit in the middle here. So let's have a look. And this is what we've got going on now. This gator mouth is beautiful. So in order to do this now, I'm going to have to get a couple of books up against the spine so that I can flip it to find the page now. So she's filling up. Lovely. It's a book underneath. There we go. And for today's idea, I've combined two inspirational videos. One from Rach over at Rachel Miller Crafts, and one from Ceri the Crafter. And of course, both their videos will be linked down below. Please go and check them out. And if you've not been over to Ceri before, please go and explore his playlist as well. He does a lot of mixed media, but he's got some lovely junk journal ideas as well. So for today, we're making these layered fabric multi-tags. I can't remember exactly the wording that Rach called them, but you've essentially got 3 tags clustered together with fabric flaps and hidden pocket elements inside. And lots of little interesting bits added on. So this is my take on the idea for the Great Ugly, using some of my less loved materials. And all the bands and the 3 clusters are all made from 3 pieces of 12 by 12 and just scrap that I have in a box behind me. So hope you stick around. I hope you enjoy. And if you've got any other ideas, please leave me a comment. Like, subscribe, and please go check out Rachel's video and Ceri's video. So for you, I'll be back in one tick. Right, my darlings, first things first, let's make a start on this. I'll show you how you get 10 tags from one piece of 12 by 12. So 10 tags are from there, and then you've got some, those are 4 by 6s. 3 by 4s, and then you get a tall one there and 3 skinnies there, all from one 12 by 12. Now this is not my idea. I'll show you the cutting guide now. The cutting guide I've had from over Ceri the Crafter, and here it is. There's his 12 by 12 cutting guide to get 10 pieces out. I'll put this back on the screen after, or perhaps I'll leave it here for just a moment if anybody wants to screenshot it. But please go check out Ceri's video. I'll link it down below. I did manage to find it. It's from a couple of years back, where he's got the exact same thing, and he does some very clever 12 by 12 master boards using napkins, which is also on my to-do list. So that's the cutting guide. So that stays in there so I don't lose it on the shelf. So first cut I make is that one. So I'm not even cutting for today for this idea. I'm just going to use my metal ruler and give it a rip. So for that side, I need to come over 4 inches, and I'm just going to tear it. There we go. And then that is that side, so that needs to come in half. So line it up and give it one at 6. So there's my 4 by 6s. Now for that piece, I rip it down the middle for that line there. So that is at 6. So turn it round and do it at 6. And on camera, yes. So that becomes that side. So I do those 4 by 3s next. So again, this paper pad wasn't completely square. And it's not exactly 12 by 12, but it's close enough. And then bring those in half and give them a rip at 3. You could do this with a paper trimmer, but I just don't have a very good paper trimmer. I have bought a new one, a doll one. It's not too bad, but right, that one is that top bit there. So I'm going to cut that 3 by 6 off first. So that goes here. Put that at 3. And that. So there's that tall, skinny one. And then you've just got that piece to get those 5 by 2s out of. So I just line it up and pull them off at 2 inches. So the idea then is to combine in the Great Ugly this idea and Rach's idea for the layered tags. So I now have, I'll put my tape board away, I now have 30 pieces of different sizes that have all come from, well, less loved paper pad. I brought this back from the States, God, years ago, and I'm still working my way through it. But it's all just different colors of the exact same pattern. And it's not thick paper. It's quite thin weight paper. What is this, Hobbycraft? I can't remember. I brought it back ages ago when I was over there on holiday. A Hobby Lobby. It's a Hobby Lobby one. And no, I did not pay that much for it. Hobby Lobby, you wait for Hobby Lobby to put things on sale. So, that's that. So those 3 pieces have come out of that. So I got 30 pieces. I now need to go dig around in my stash and pull out the boxes of fabric scraps and my lace scraps. So for that, for you, I'll be back in a tick. For me, it's going to take a few more minutes than that. So, be right back. Right, I'm back, my darlings. I've got me a tray of fabric and laces gathered together. But I've sat down now. There's 6 layered tags here with pockets. And I've only got 3 pieces left over. So let me explain. For the sake of the Great Ugly, I'm only doing 3. So like on this one, for example, I've got a tag here. It's a 3 tag cluster. Tag there. The big one can have a pocket on the front. And it could have, actually, another pocket. What color? Yellow. On the back. So that one can go together and go out of the way. Show you again on the other one. Perhaps we can use all 30. I'm going to paper clip those together. So that one then is a tag on the top, tag underneath, a larger tag with a pocket, and that can have a pink tag, a pink pocket on the back. So let's pop these out of the way. And those can be a future project. Same with that one. It's a 3 tag cluster. Oh, nothing on the back of that one. So that could go as a pocket on the back of the back. So for the sake of combining these 2 ideas, Ceri's and Rach's, I'm going to just focus on these 3. And I do believe I've put a pocket on the backs of those. So 3 tag cluster, yes, pocket on the back, pocket on the front and back of that large card, and those. So let's get the fabrics out and have a look. And again, for the sake of the Great Ugly, I'm trying to look at my sort of less loved. I've got 2 boxes of scraps back there that I'm just ready to put in the bin. That, for example, is just the top of a net curtain, and I thought it was just plain white, but it's very sparkly. It's got like iridescent thread running through it, which is not really my thing. So let's have a look at this one. So first things first, I want something on the top of that back pocket, something on the top of that front pocket. So even if it's just a piece of random scrap that I've cut up, that's sort of the general idea. Because again, the Great Ugly is just meant to use up bits. Chop that bit in half. Well, nearly in half. There we go. Add random bits and keep building them up. And then something on the back pocket. And I can sit here and ooh and ah for ages doing this. Something like that. So I don't have enough room on my desk. That's what it is. Just full stop. I have not enough room on my desk. But try to make it work. Layer that up. Ready to go through the sewing machine. But then I want some sort of layer on the top of that one. Let's try a bit of this scarf, shall we? I've made several journal covers out of this scarf that I did one for my mother-in-law, I think. So I have that on top, and perhaps a bit of netting on top of that. Oh, I like the bird. I'm going to chop it off and just roughly cut it before it gets over to the sewing machine. And cut that side. Not the easiest thing to do on camera, but which side's which? That's the back. That's the front. If we get that bird on there, give that a rough chop. I can even these up before I get them through the machine. And pop these scraps now back in here. I'll do the sides then. So I've got that flap, that fabric flap, that embellished as a pocket underneath. And perhaps we dip into some of these to make cards to go into those. So that goes on the back. Our next layer is that tag. And I want something blue. I don't have much blue here. Got that. Which again has come off from an old scarf. That's just a flap of fabric. Now imagine doing this. I know you're looking at this thinking this looks like a complete train wreck. But it's supposed to look like a train wreck. Because it's going in the Great Ugly. I want to be using up some of, or a lot of, my more or less loved supplies. Should we put some yellow on there? And then something else along the top. Where is that wonky Roman blind stuff? It is in here somewhere. Oh, there's the piece. And a piece of that right on the top. This is for making, I remember looking it up before. It's something like, it's not Roman blinds. It's for, and it's not Venetian. Oh, I can't remember. But like gathered, pleated curtains. And this is just a wonky piece that I cut off of something else. And it's got a loop on it, which means I can hang a charm on it. So that can go across there. And And the other tag will go on top, and that needs something. What have I got over here? I've got some, not a great deal. That's on the back, so I could add another piece of that along the side of that tag. Maybe? Or not. Or maybe a bit on the top. Let's get some lace on there. Get a little bit of lace on the top of that one. Yeah. And maybe a tiny bit of that on the top. So that's more or less the idea. It's just to sit there and layer and layer and layer, and then take it away and sew it, you know. I'll, of course, trim everything down a little bit after I've sewn it on, most likely. So let me sit here and play and trim through more of this. I've also gotten out a couple of rolls of really cheap floral ribbon, and I'm hoping perhaps I can use, let's get a test piece off, that I can use a bit of it, but it's wired. So I'm wondering, can I get the wire out? Yes. There we go. Yes, if you've got the wired ribbon, try it again, Faith. Wired ribbon, you can get the wire out. There we go. The wire in the bin. So I do have a few bits of that in blue and pink. So, right, I'm going to layer this, trim this one down, have a rummage, layer those up, and perhaps pop back on and show you before they're sewn, and then pop back on after they're sewn. Because I know I've got to sort out my sewing machine. Her name is Darlin. Darlin is out of thread. I've got to sort the bobbin out and get her up and running. So, give me a tick. Right, darlings, just in case anybody out there perhaps could be new to sewing or thinking about sewing clips are your friend when you're junk journaling. You don't need loads of drawing pins. You're not making a tailor-made dress or a piece of clothing. So all I've done is I've taken those pieces, made sure the tops are squared up, ready to go through the machine, and I've just put them on with clips. Because as you're feeding it through the machine, you remove the clips. And these clips are your friend. Even if you don't sew, as a junk journaler, go up to the sewing section and check out sewing clips, because they are a staple, definitely. So, sewing machine sorted, been rethreaded, ready to go. So these are going off now to get stitched. Back in a tick. And I've got my bits through the sewing machine. So I'll show you, trimming these down is just a matter of chopping the excess off once it's been through the machine. And I'm only doing these roughly for the Great Ugly, as I said. Now, these leftover bits that you're trimming off, you can just bin, or what I do is I have these little glass pots that I get yogurts in, and interesting bits, not all that extra thread, interesting bits like that and that, I shove in these little squirrel jars. And all that leftover that got trimmed off goes in the bin. So that's the base tag. One of those will go on the back. One of those will go underneath there on the front. That one goes on. But like these now from my squirrel jar, I am going to clip. Let's do a yellow one. a yellow bulb pen. So that lace bit, that leftover bit that got trimmed off from sewing, perhaps that bit there that got trimmed off from sewing can have a pin through it, I say, on camera. There we go. And that pin then can go through the loop on that one. So there's a little bit of interest dangling down on that one. But that could be scraps of fabric like that. It could be scraps of paper or a combination of both. So let's get these glued on. Art out and wake up. Art. Should we put that one? No, let's put this one in the middle. So just glue those down. And next to me, I've also got a scrap piece of paper, which is my notes to myself to go in the Great Ugly as I'm going along. So imagine creating this with vintage papers and using really old vintage or antique lace and haberdashery, and then inking the edges and shaping the edges. So there's a pocket there. That can go down. Or a pocket on the back. And yes, just I might have a go using some of my nicer materials now. I've started on the Journal de la Courtière, the seamstress's journal. I have started. I'm just not ready to upload yet. Still in the works. So I wanted to get this idea into the Great Ugly because I think these will be a lovely idea to work in that journal. So fluff everywhere. So pocket on the inside, 2 little fabric flips, pocket on the back. That then has writing space on the back. That can go on the top or off. Yes, let's put it off to the side there. And then that will go here as a sort of layered. But before I'm ready, I'll pin in the glue, Faith, pin in Art. Do not let Art go without the pin. Thank you, Art. There we go. Scroll draw away. So that is the rough idea. Before I start attaching these, though, or filling them, or adding anything extra to them, I want to get these two finished. So I'm going to go off and dig through that box of scraps again and see what I can find. So, back with you in a tick. Right, darlings, all through the sewing machine now, and I'm quite happy. My scrap basket is actually noticeably lower. When I went to put the lid on, I noticed it was a lot less full. So I've at least used up some of the really, really scrappy stuff that I've been shoving into that box. So all three have been sewn. I've gone back and added eyelets through. Some in the dead center and some staggered so that they hang a little bit off center. So you've got that back pocket with a pocket, back tag, sorry. I've laid that on a baby wipe or something. Another one back there, and then these two additional tags to go in, which of course you could then carry on adding elements to, or adding things under the fabric to discover. So I've done those three. Let's go through them now. So that one's that one. Now, remember that loop tape I had? That big bundle? I very nearly threw that in the bin. But I had coffee with Steph from over at Hilltop Journals, and she was like, no, you could definitely use this. But what I found then, playing with it, is having that extra loop in that banding, which means all sorts can be hanged. So I've just done some scrap fabric bits on a bulb pin from my squirrel jar. But you could hang bits of paper, all sorts of little teeny tiny dangles off of that stuff. So pleased with that. So that's one. That's the other one. And the back one for that one, you've got flip and a pocket. And a pocket on the back. A random string there. Chop that off. So no, thank you for that stuff. I'm definitely not going to throw it away now. We've got that one with a few extra bits of fabric thrown in. And that one then with some scrap fabric. I mean, like that yellow ribbon and that sort of shiny pink fabric, like fake satin kind of stuff. I'm not going to use that anywhere else, but it was in my scrap box. So it's going in the Great Ugly. And then that one then, I've got some extra bits of fabric on that one, some netting, and a pocket there, and then of course a pocket on the back. So yeah, it's a great way to use up scraps. Now imagine all of this made with really nice fabric and some vintage antique lace. Wouldn't that be lush? That is the plan. I think I'm going to have a go doing that with some of my nicer materials to go into my sewing journal. So for the bulb pins to put them together, I've gone through my charms, looking for unwanted, unloved, and I have a dinosaur, I have a lion, and I have a unicorn. Ones I'm not likely to use anywhere else. So they're going into the Great Ugly for posterity. And so I'm going to open my bulb pin. I'm going to put my charm on first. And then go through my eyelets and cross my fingers that they all line up. And my thinking is then, if they're pulled out of a journal, they can be unpinned. They can be unpinned, written on, played with, and then pinned back together to slide back in. So I have an idea for filling these. I'll show you now. Let's get these last few on there. Let's go with a dinosaur. Who doesn't love a dinosaur? There we go. And that one. And that back one. And again, that has been done slightly off center, because I want that dangle to be seen. Does that make sense? There we go. The little silver dinosaur on it. And I'm quite pleased with this, considering I've struggled all week to come up with the next idea for the Great Ugly. I'm quite pleased how this has turned out, because in my brain, I can look at this and see potential ways of doing it differently in a different styled journal as an idea, a Great Ugly idea. So there we go, all pinned together. So, Great Ugly. Oh no, before the Great Ugly, this is what I've got left from those 30 pieces. So I've taken the extra there was 3 4x6s left, and I've used those to create bands in the Great Ugly. I'll show you those in a moment. So I've got some skinnies and those left over. So how many have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I've got 3 of these. So let's say, yeah, 2 each in each one. So on that back tag, I might have to take them apart again. Let's see if we can do it without taking them apart. Oh, stay put a minute, will you? Thank you. So let's see. I'll have a yellow one in that one, yellow one in that one, pink, blue, pink, blue. Those two now can slide into that pocket. the glue on top. And that can get flopped back over. These two can go into that one. And pop these into this one. And then we're going to flip them upside down. My own camera, yes. Flip these upside down. And onto those back pockets, I will do the same with these. So let's have pink, pink, blue, yellow, blue, yellow. So all of these are from 3 12 by 12 pages. And before they go in the Great Ugly, I am going to pause you a minute because I need to go and write my notes on the backs of these. So, back in a moment. Right, I've done my notes now on the back of this one. So, I know it's small, but basically just to say, remember to link Rach's video and Ceri's. I've done me a little miniature version of the cutting guide there. One idea I had as well, instead of having eyelets, was to make some tab tops and get the tab tops just peeking out above each one with an eyelet through it before all the sewing. So I've added that on there, if that makes sense. So then your bulb pin would be through an eyelet that's just barely peeking up out of the top. Again, adding other hidden elements under some of the fabric flips. Of course, inking, notching corners, using some of my like edge punches to make more decorative edges. And also having to go using some of my antique and vintage lace to do these as well. So those go in as my notes in the back of the unicorn one. There we go. Now, the Great Ugly. Now, this is going to take some MacGyvering. Let's reach back here and grab it. So, with all the tags that I put in the back, and those last 3 pieces of 4x6s, I've used all 30 pieces. Not one piece of the 30 pieces has gone to waste. It's all gone in for this. But as you can see, that's why it's laying open at the moment, because it's just got this gator mouth that is just beautiful. So to do this on camera, I'm going to stick some books under here and see if I can't get it to lay flat. Now that's better. So those 4x6s, I've just folded sort of in rough thirds and glued them shut. And my thinking is that, I mean, these will fit in a pocket. I mean, you can slide them down into a pocket. Easy enough. Yes? But what I'm also thinking is if you start adding more and more little built-up mini pockets in there and fabric, you need a slightly different way. So I thought just using a horizontal belly band and, yeah, just sliding them up from the bottom then, and they should stay fairly secure. So I'll put one on that side, and let's try doubling them up on this side. So let's put that one through the bottom. No, actually put that one through the top. That little lion on it. And let's try dragging this one up through the bottom here. And they can sort of overlap each other in there. There we go. And if I want to, I can drag that little dangle out to be a bit of interest. There. A little fiddly, but I think you could work with that the more you play with that idea, for sure. That fabric in there. but then it looks so textural on the page and inviting. To me, that looks really inviting on the page to explore. So, no, that's all for the Great Ugly for this week. This is number 13 of my Great Ugly for my 100-day challenge, and this is my week 11 for my 100-day challenge. So thank you ever so much for Rach for the inspirational video. Her video will be linked down below in the description. And to Ceri for that fabulous cutting guide. And I'll link your video then down below in the description as well. Like I said, all 30 pieces of the 3 scrapbook pages were used in this particular example. And I've reduced some of my less loved materials and supplies. So no, happy all around. I've just got to get it edited together now. So as before, let's have a look what's nearby. So that is that an example? No. That is just a piece of rectangular paper that's been folded up. No. Yeah. The corner's been folded in and the bottom's been folded up. And then once you fold the bottom up, you tuck that edge under. And it just acts as a page flip. There are ways of doing these to have an extra, sort of hidden pocket in there as well. So, and that's a fairly standard one. What's on the other side? That one. I had that one at Eglantine, but I don't think I showed it. Let me grab a piece of paper quick. Where's this one? Oh, got one that's always on the go here because I use this book for my lace bundles. So for that one, I don't even bother with the rough edge. Just tear the book page out. You go and fold it sort of the width you want. Yes. That's your back. So just glue here to glue it shut. But before you glue it shut, find your middle and give your middle a little bit of a tear and put those back like that, or a little bit neater than that anyway. So that's essentially all it is one piece of book page to create that pocket. But then ink it first and then glue it. So you'd ink these edges here, get them to sort of the dimensions that you want, ink them, and then fold them back to create that sort of shirt style pocket. And then glue them down. And then that's just a piece of music paper that's had a circle punched out and a rough strip punched out as decoration. So that's all that is. It's really, really simple. So, no, that's me done for today. So thank you ever so much for watching and sticking around with me. And please leave me a comment, like, subscribe, and hope to see you all back soon. Bye for now.